hats, 26 hats for the British rugby team. And he would have trouble getting into half of that door over there. Big, big guy. Nice, gentle, like a gentle beast. And so that was really my introduction to rugby. He's not old, your father, but I mean a young man to me. I'm 73 years old. I'm 6'1", of twisted steel and panther fist. More panther fist now than twisted steel. But I kind of look like this skinny guy here. 30, 35 years ago. Now I got just panther fist, not so much twisted steel. But unfortunately, I still weigh 225. So you can tell the 225 has slid a little bit. Maybe a lot. If you be kind to me, you won't say a lot. Now, I was asking Coach how he found me. And it's like, how did you find, back in the day, Dirty Magazine in a trash can or something? And he told me. And when we were driving here from the airport last night, the driver said, "What are you in town for, mister?" And I said, "I'm here to talk at Kentucky." Silence. To whom? And he said, "Football?" I said, "No, sir." He says, "Basketball?" Actually, he said basketball first. "No, sir." "Football?" "No, sir." Then silence. And I'm looking in the rearview mirror. He's looking back at me. I can see his eyes, the old man. What this old guy was. And then I said, "Rugby." And I thought he was going to swerve off the road, slam on the brakes. I don't think he even knew you had a rugby team. I said, "Yes, I've been asked to come a little more resolved than they already have about winning in the rest of the tournaments they have played." And he didn't say anything. Now, back in the day, I used to go to Kentucky basketball games, Kentucky football games, and I used to be friends with the governor. And when we go through some slides, you can see why I was excited when I was asked. I've only been asked one time in all the years since I was here in the middle 80s to do anything for the state of Kentucky. And that was to make a speech for the guy that ran for lieutenant governor, I think, in 1991. But other than that, Kentucky has lost my name. I used to be, maybe some of your relatives worked for me. I used to be one of the biggest coal producers in Kentucky. Independent coal producers. And we were in Harlan County, Hazard, and we had several thousand employees. And I kept what was Bow Valley coal from closing down when I bought it by Great Western Coal, so I saved several thousand dollars. So, the governor was appreciative, to say the least, and as were the employees. And the gentleman who used to be the president of our coal company was a guy named Clyde Jones. Clyde. Supposedly he had a third grade education. But people that were as old as him said he played football for Kentucky. Now, maybe back in the 50s you could play football for Kentucky and only have a third grade education. I don't know. But he certainly played football here. And when we took over the company, and there was Dry County, and first time I met him, there was a brown paper bag on the table, all sealed up. We were in a Holiday Inn, which is a big time hotel in that part of the country. And I opened up the paper bag, and it was a bottle of Jack Daniels. Put that down, and I know it's Dry County. And I said, "Clyde, is this for me?" He said, "Yes, sir. We hear you're into Jack." I used to be into Jack. I used to do a lot of bourbons. Jack is back. So we're talking about him staying on as CEO. I hadn't planned on firing anybody, but I have one rule in management. What's that, sir? He's trying to take notes, and his fingers are all crippled up. And I said, "I don't believe in nepotism." He goes, "What does that mean, sir?" "You can't have your relations working here. No brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles." He says, "Sir, your secretary here has 22 relations that work here. It's the only place, and we're all inbred from the hollers." He said, "Do you think you might be kind enough to kind of lose that rule and regulation of yours?" So I thought quickly, being a super world-class manager, absolutely. We now will have nepotism going forward. I just need a list of everybody that's related to everybody. 3 days later, I got 1,100 people on a list that were related, many of which intermarried. The stories about the hollers of Kentucky are all true, at least in the 70s and 80s. They're all true. But we had a lot of fun here, and And I made a lot of money. Money's not everything, kids, but it's the only thing anybody keeps track of. Oops. Yeah, going the right way. Now that's allegedly you. I'm doing my homework to prepare for this talk, and I prepared many hours. And you're going to see some other statistics about, not the rugby team, because you know those better than I, about the state of Kentucky, and about the history of rugby, and some of what are the history of the school. Now, how many seniors do we have? Juniors. What's after that? Sophomores. Freshmen. Okay. Well, my biggest pitch is going to be towards the seniors, because this is your last hurrah, right? So you're not going to leave anything on the field. The juniors, sophomores, and freshmen can do some fuck-ups. We're not going to allow it, but they can, because they're going to have another time to do this. The seniors, this is it. This is do or fucking die. So 55% of this talk is to the seniors, because I've talked to other groups that had seniors in them. Normally, more seniors as a percentage than you got. So, but you got a good mix. That means you got good basis to coach from. A lot of freshmen with all the problems freshmen are. That's right. Okay. Now, this is the main reason I'm here. Because what she did for me and was nice to me back in the day. I am a Kentucky colonel. I am an admiral of the Kentucky Navy. Martha Collins, who was the one first lady governor, and I believe is still the only lady governor who you've ever had, was kind enough to appoint me to Kentucky colonel. I bet you didn't know you had a Navy. And I'm going to start using the colonel title, just like KFC. Now, since I'm a former Army officer, I feel more comfortable being a Kentucky colonel than I do an admiral. But this is why. They bent over backwards for me back in the day. Of course, I employed a lot of people. Almost 5,000 employees, a lot of people in Kentucky. And we made more money than God, Allah, and Buddha put together. We shit money. We were the highest paid coal company in the state of Kentucky. With all the nepotism. Even with all the nepotism. We paid well, and we were non-union. Which was a big deal back then. I won't get into why we were non-union or how I got us to be non-union, but I got us to be non-union. So I believe in paying back. I don't believe in the story about playing it forward like the movie. But I do believe in paying back, and so this is my way of paying back Kentucky, being here and helping you go into glory. Now, how do I stay fit? You've got a gym. This is my gym. I still work out 6-7 days a week. Cardio 4 or 5 days a week. I still weigh roughly the same. And I want to see the seniors 10 years from now, what they look like. A couple of you big boys, I hope you're not weighing 50 pounds more. And the older you get, the harder it is to cut off weight. I am a living testament to that, even though I weigh about the same. I am the bionic man. These are the sporting injuries I've had. Artificial knees, artificial hip, artificial shoulders, no long head bicep, critical severe arthritis in my back, my neck, from all the beatings I've gotten. We're going to talk about my limited American football career. And you'll see why it was limited. Because I had no fucking talent. But that didn't keep me from trying. I had a world-class, all-American father. Not in one sport, not in 2 sports, but 3 fucking sports! And I couldn't even chew gum and bounce the ball at the same time. My dad never mentioned it to me. Never once. But I could see it in his eyes. Disappointment. You've seen disappointment in your father's eyes before. Maybe not about that. So I kept trying. Kept hitting that line, keep hitting that line, getting busted up. You know, in American football, they have a tackling drill. There's some dipshit in the middle and 15, 20 guys around and, you know, they keep hitting them. I was that guy. Every single day of every single week of every single season I played football. Where's Peña? Get that fat ass Mexican in here. They used to call me wetback. Just imagine. And you can imagine what they call black people back in the 60s. They call me Mexican wetback. No talent. What? And on top of being a fucking Mexican wetback, he's a no talent Mexican wetback. My football coach, Roy J. May, he rotten hell, says, Peña, you're so goddamn slow, you should wear the other team's jersey. You might as well wear their jersey because you're better off for them than you are for us. But I kept going out, year after year after year. Because I had an All-American dad. Not in one sport, not in two sports, but 3 sports. That's part of the reason I'm here. Because I know not all of you are going to be All-American anything. Some of you, praise Allah, Buddha, and Christ, maybe some of you will. But what you learn here from the coaches is what you will take forward out of sports. 10 years from now, maybe 10% of you will still be involved in sports. 25, 30 years from now, probably none. It's what you learn on the field that carries you forward into manhood. Now, these are some of my high-performance coaching credentials, as it were. I coached the 3rd man to walk on the moon, P.D. Conrad. You'd think he had the world by the ass, wouldn't you? 3rd man to walk on the moon. Depression. Couldn't get a job. The system is bust, kids. The speech I normally give at universities is wealth, risk, reward, not. The financial or the educational systems that's taught in universities, as good as this one is ass backwards. If it weren't ass backwards, why, after a 4-year degree, and some of you will get a 2nd degree, 5 or 6 year, can't you get a job? The system of 40 years ago, you work and get a pension and then go watch, not as nice to watch this, is dead. So it's what you learn here that you'll take forward into the real world. I coached and saved Great Western Coal and Harlan and Hazard. I coached world-class basketball players for the Lakers when they were doing their 5-peat. World record distance runners, teenage multimillionaires, UK British powerlifting champ, Olympians, $500 billion largest field ever. I coached. But my greatest accomplishment in recent years is that tennis champ. Little guy, weighed about 115 pounds, came to me. He had never finished higher than 18 in any competition. He said, Mr. Peña, I want to win Britain's archery. I look at the kid, I thought, what are you smoking, kid? I mean, there's no way humanly possible. He says, will you take me on? I said, yes. He had normally fired 50 to 100 arrows a day. You fire 500 arrows a day, you do this, you press this, blah, 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 you'll win. And then I turned around and said, Dad, did you lie to the kid? No, I didn't lie to the kid. 11 months later, he's the British archery champ. He's also put on 25 pounds of muscle. He was firing 1,000 arrows a day. I'm a big believer in over-practicing. I know that's not popular now, especially millennials, because you want to feel good about yourself. I don't care if you feel good about it. If you like me when I'm finished, I didn't do my fucking job. All I know is I know how to coach, teach winners, and have been for 50 years. And not a one, well, I don't say not a one, almost none of them like me. How many are old enough in the room to know Woody Hayes, great football coach of Ohio State? Okay, you know how he got fired? I think they're playing Michigan State or Michigan, and the tight end with the ball got around the outside corner and was running for the touchdown. Woody Hayes is standing on the side there with his clipboard. He throws his clipboard down and tackles the guy himself. Fired instantly. He said, I couldn't let that son of a bitch score. It was a defeat of my coaching system to let that guy score. I'd rather lose my job than let that kid score. How many know Bobby Knight, famous basketball coach of Indiana? Same attitude. He got fired for choking. A 6'11", and Bobby's about this tall, a 6'11", 275-pound center. Not once, not twice, not 3 times, more times than they could count. He finally got fired. And they sent him to TCU, Texas Christian University, where the first person he hit a chair with, then he got fired. Now, I'm an old school Neanderthal type coach. If you don't like me, that's good. But that's dead now. Your current coaching staff or the gentlemen. Maybe if they were a little less gentlemen, you might do better. And you're already one of the greater teams in the country. But just imagine, would you give 10 or 20 or 25% more discipline in your life to the coaching staff to be number 1 in the country? Some of you are shaking your head, yes, but not all of them, coach. I believe in 5 time a day practicing. 5. Usain Bolt. How many know Usain Bolt? The great sprinter, right? I didn't coach Usain, but I coached some of Usain's partners. Until he finished 3rd in the World Championship last year, he'd been undefeated in 100. Every practice for 10 years, he worked out until he threw up. He had nothing left in his body. The last World Championship, he decided, well, I had to be able to beat these guys. I beat Gatton before, I beat this guy, I beat that guy. I'm going to kind of chill out. He finished 3rd. He didn't work out till he threw up. He coasted. This is no time to be fucking coasting. This is when you put your foot to the metal. I coached a baseball team in California, 3A division. Their goal was to go to the state finals 2 years ago. They went to the state finals and lost 2-1. Their goal was not to win the state finals, it was to go to the state finals. The next year, I got a hold of the coach, choked him a little. Their new goal was to win the state finals. They went 4-3 the next year. I've got another coach, another kid, Olympian. When he's 10 years old, he saw the Olympics on TV, 72, Munich Olympics. He said, I want to go to the Olympics. He was a cyclist. Went to the Olympics and didn't get anything. Not one gold medal, not one bronze medal, not one silver medal. His goal was just to go to the Olympics, not win anything. You cannot have too high aspirations athletically. This is a privileged environment, kids. Just go back to my meager athletic career. I can chill just thinking about it. Peña, get your sorry Mexican ass over here. I got in one game against Manuel Lawrence. At that time, an all-black school. They were ranked 2nd in the nation. They had a fullback, a 265-pound fullback named Harry Wells, who had 20-inch biceps, 32-inch thighs. Fullback. They didn't allow us to play that team at night. We had to play them in the daytime. I'm the only thing, we were losing 40-2. Yeah, 40-2. They put Peña, send Peña in. The only time I got in a game. Harry Wells is barreling down on me like this guy. There's Harry with me, and I'm praying to Christ. Oh God, why? Why fucking me? By the grace of Allah, Buddha, and Christ, I stopped him short of the goal line. That's the highlight of my athletic career. And that's why I have an artificial hip, because he jammed my hip up to my fucking Adam's apple. Of course, Harry's in prison, San Quentin, for murder. I didn't wish that on him, but he was still a hell of a fullback. He was an All-American. He could pass the ball. He could catch the ball. He could run the ball. He could run backwards fast at 265. He said faster backwards than we could run forwards. He was a gifted athlete. And an ungifted athlete like myself stopped. They carried me off the goddamn on their shoulders. They scored one more time and they beat us 43-2. Now that's not your heritage. Your heritage is something much different. You come from a team of winners. Coaches have done a good job. Could they have done better? Always. But you're never going to outperform your highest expectation. Never. My skinny arching guy, there's a couple of guys in here. I didn't know that you could have a skinny guy playing rugby.
There's a few.
They'll beef them up. Now, association is power, kids. You want people that are on the same mission you are. Some of you look kind of like this from 300. And some of you don't. Now, what we didn't know when I was growing up, I was born with peripheral neuropathy, meaning the nerve endings in my hands and my feet were dead and dying, i.e., I'm uncoordinated. But they just said I was an uncoordinated fat bastard. They didn't test for peripheral neuropathy back in those days. They said I was retarded because I was slow. I had OCD and ADHD, which they hadn't diagnosed in those days. They used to stand me in the corner with a dunce cap. And if I turned, dunce cap is one of those things on your head. If I turned around, they'd put me in a closet. They'd take the dunce cap off my head, put me in a closet. Until my parents would come pick me up. I'd be in there 4, 5, 6 hours. I'd shit myself and piss myself. They wouldn't let me out. Then my father would pick me up and give me a fucking beating again. Because the teachers and the nuns were always right in those days. Now just imagine if your little sensitivities endured that growing up. But it just made me stronger. Because it's not what happens to you in life, it's how you interpret what happens to you in life that builds your character, which translates ultimately into your destiny. Now I was a bad kid. You don't know anybody in Ramsey who would try to kill his teacher. I did. I tried to kill my teacher. Fortunately, by the grace of Allah or somebody, I wasn't good at killing at 11, 12 years old. Coming from the neighborhood I came from, there was plenty of guys that were better at it than I was. I dropped an aquarium from the second floor onto the teacher who pissed me off. Kind of reminds me of Coach, actually. He looks kind of like that. And he moved 6, 7 inches, and instead of hitting him in the head, it caved in his clavicle, and his shoulder was down here. Now, if I had unfortunately killed that teacher, I wouldn't be here today. I would have gone to prison, blah, blah, blah. So all these things that happened to me made me a stronger person. Now, normally, what I tell the audience is, even though this is a dry school, except for football, etc., a stiff drink and a good fuck will kill everybody in this room. Being tough on the rugby pitch isn't necessarily being tough. I just came 4 days ago from transitioning out Navy SEALs, Delta Force, and Green Beret badasses. They asked me to come and talk to them. I wonder why. And the first lady fighter pilot to kill ISIS with bombs. She was the first lady to bomb them. Why did they ask me? I'll bet. Because they want somebody that knows, take no prisoners. Failure is not an option. It's not even a thought. That's why my credentials, as they are so varied. From a little skinny wimp pulling back a bow, to Olympians, to the third guy to walk on the moon. I know how to get the ball in the net. Or more importantly, I know how to get you to get the ball in the net. Remember, my heyday was Harry Wells falling on top of me, holding his big thighs bigger than my waist and praying to God he didn't wiggle forward. And then he held me up off the ground. Big piece of shit. He held me up like this, and he patted me on the goddamn head. Good tackle, kid. I wanted to gouge his fucking eyes out. It wasn't a good tackle. It was the only tackle I ever made. The only tackle. Now, I am not the All-American coach like Luke Rocky at Notre Dame. He patted me, he went to prayers, and I know you had prayer class yesterday. He took him to Mass, and everybody confessed he was a good guy. I'm not that guy. But if you want to know how to win, your coaching staff brought the right guy. And I'm proud. I'm overbearing, but I don't know how to lose. I haven't lost in such a goddamn long time, I don't know what the fuck it feels like. My kids don't know how to lose. I have teenage multimillionaires flying their own jet planes around. They don't know how to lose. And to the extent that you follow in the historical track record of the other athletes that I had the privilege of being with, you won't know how to lose. And when you do, God forbid, not this season, but in another lifetime, you lose at something, you'll say, what did that old fucking man talk about? Remember that old crazy bastard the coaches brought in to talk to us? You know about the school, 1865, I'm not going to repeat about the history, master's degree, yada yada, Kentucky merged. I like it, they merged with Transylvania University. Transylvania, that's not the blood-sucking Transylvania, that must be another school around here, because there is a Transylvania in Kentucky, I believe. In the modern era, we know that. Now, there's a thing in sports psychology called regret minimization. I'm going to give you a few examples of it. Let's first talk about Amazon. The largest market cap, or one of the largest market cap companies in the world, run by a gentleman named Jeff Bezos. Crazy idea. He makes his decision-making process based on what will I feel bad about when I'm 80 years old. When I'm 30. I make a decision when I'm 30. Will I feel good about the decision when I'm 80, and will I feel bad about it? I didn't know anybody else did this other than myself. I am here so you do not regret. God forbid, not performing at 100% in your next few encounters. Some of you will say, hopefully not many of you, some of your parents will say it's only a game. Ask your parents after the season's over. Would you like me to grow up and be just like you, Mom? Would you like me to grow up and be just like you, Dad? You already know the answer, don't you? 95% of them will be saying no. 25 years ago, I got an award for being the most distinguished alumni of the university I went to. And my father's being interviewed on CBS, and they said, Mr. Peña, you must be really proud of your son. And he says, and he looks right in the camera, and he says, yes, I'm proud, Dan, but my son's success is not because of me. My son's success is in spite of me. Because my dad knew he had nothing to do with my success, other than being a hard ass. When I played football, to the extent I played the game on Friday night, right? You get out of the locker room 10:30, right? Everybody goes out and have a good time. Is that still the... My dad's standing at the locker room door. I walk out and he grabs me by the hand. We're going home, Daddy. Didn't go out and drink and cavort and have a good time with my buddies. I had this big meat hook that looked like Godzilla from his years of being an All-American gymnast on me. It used to seem when I was little, the hand would reach from my knuckles to my forearm. His hand was so big. But he was teaching me discipline. He was teaching me focus. Now, if I'd been a star quarterback, I don't know if he would have treated me that way. But since I never was a star athlete, as I got older, the peripheral neuropathy settled down, and then I realized, though my hand-eye coordination was poor, what it was good at, I had no fast twitch muscles. I had like 3 or 4% fast twitch muscles. A lot of you guys probably had 60, 70% fast twitch muscles. All I had was slow twitch muscles. What are slow twitch muscles good for? Then nothing. Now long distance running. So as I got older, in my mid-30s, late 30s, I discovered I could run. I ran in Boston with distinction. I run 100-mile marathons in 22 hours. I run 50-mile marathons in less than 8 hours. If I had known that when I was a kid, I would have been a goddamn Olympian. But I was just a retard. Uncoordinated retard growing up. Now, most of you in this room have been athletic all your lives. Yeah? Okay. Some of you have been super athletic. Gifted. I didn't suffer that. I used to dream about being a gifted athlete. I had a nightmare last night, waking up. But it's not what happens to you, it's how you interpret it. I personally think the coaching staff, they're great, not just this coaching staff, all coaching staffs around the world are too soft. But I know they're dealing with prima donnas. See, I told you off the team, give me any shit. You don't like my discipline? Get the fuck out. Don't let the door hit you your big ass on the way out. I don't care how big you are. And maybe all of you would quit. And that's fine. That's what it's meant to be. But we take, as adults, as coaches, too often second position behind the athletes. Look at the prima donnas that are playing basketball. Look at the prima donnas that are playing football. That are making tens of millions of dollars, right? For what? Entertaining you and your father in front of a TV, drinking beer on the weekends. Why? What's happened with the system? We've allowed it to happen. But regret minimization from this day forward, you're going to understand there's 2 different ways to do anything. There's the way that you can minimize your regrets, in other words, be all you can be, or you can go the easy way. Conventional wisdom, political correctness. I believe with all my heart, political correctness is the manifestation of a lack of self-esteem on the planet today. We don't have any of these anymore. And when I go to all-girl universities, they say yes. Can girls play rugby?
Yes.
Yeah.
Here?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. I was going to crank it up a tone for my filthy jokes if it was with the greatest respect, ma'am. I for any lady players. Now look where we are in the world. Do you have safe space on campus? No? When we were at Krakow University last year, they have a whole floor on the 3rd floor of the physics building. Krakow University, one of the big technology schools in Eastern Europe. It's a safe floor. So if you need a place for no bad vibration, you're going to get you can go to that floor. I said, are you fucking kidding me? Are you kidding me? I'll give you a safe. Now, this is one thing I don't have a regret for. Like attracts like. If you're a powerful, weightlifting. My one weightlifting story. I benched 395 pounds back in the day. Why didn't I bench 400? Because my moron spotters didn't put the collars on. My spotters say, well, you bench 400. No, I didn't. I never got close to that again. The best I ever benched after that is about 380, excuse me. That's my weightlifting story. I only have one. And I get sit down press 200 pounds. Sit down. Military press. That's the extent of my weightlifting. But when you find somebody, powerful people are attracted by powerful people, not just weightlifting, but because you stand, you do what you say, and you say what you do. When you go out to play in the next few days for the coaches, and they're going to expect all you can be. By definition, you have a contract. They're going to give you the best coaching they know how, and you're going to give them the best performance you know how. But that's not good enough for me. I want you to outperform. I want you to be better than you've ever been. And you've all got it within you. You've all got it within you. One of my kids just performed a Ironman. And I told him, he's a six-pack, 4% body fat, all that bullshit, you know. But I said that you're going to regret if you don't leave it all out on the field, whether it's in the swimming, the bike, or the running. When I became a good runner, not world class, but a good runner, they used to come to me, like you see in the Olympics, a guy will go out and run the first half, and then drop off, and then the other guy can make the record. They used to come to me. Want to break the marathon record, 10,000 meters up. I used to be the guy that ran it in the last third. That was really good. Not good enough to do what they had the first 2 thirds, but good enough to be up there in for the last third. So I found my calling, so to speak. And that's really the beginning of my coaching. Jim Ryan, the greatest miler, never to win a gold medal at the Olympics. An old friend of mine. He fell down in the 1968 Olympics. So, speak about regrets. That's a whole regret book. He said, Danny, he says, motivation gets you started. Good habits keep you going. For those of you that are going to weigh 50 pounds more in 10 years, and there's a couple candidates in here, I hope I'm wrong. It's the good habits of training that will keep you going. Now, I'm a believer, and I know I'm not in sync with modern technology. I believe in overtraining. The only thing you can sometimes overtrain is your head. If your head's not in sync with your body. If you think you're tired, guess what? You get tired. If you think that, maybe the coach will put somebody else in. Only time I got in was when we were losing by 40 points. Now, we're not going to go through this list, but just look at the list, read down it quickly, and see how many of these things you've done. I've done them all. You don't have to answer, coaches. The last time I got, the dope Saturday night experienced it for the first time about a month ago in Amsterdam at 73. When I was 40, I said I was going to do heroin when I was 80. But now I'm 73, I'm going to move it out to 90. My dad only had one goal for me growing up, to keep me alive till I reached the age of reason. Keep me alive. Not finish school, not get good grades. I've been arrested at least 5 times, thrown in jail. I flunked out of university 3 times. Came back after the military, graduated with honors. Tried to kill my teacher in grade school. Tuned up a lot of kids. I used to like breaking bones. I used to like the snap of a forearm. I wanted to be a priest, for God's sake. I used to teach Bible study, catechism, altar boy. Then I discovered girls. And I've never been the same. I've never been the same. But I've done all those. Including the felony. The last time I was arrested was assault with a deadly weapon on a policeman. Not like some of you guys that think you're bad. I was bad. I was tough. And I wasn't even the toughest in my group. As big as I am, I was the smallest guy. And but the guys back in the barrio, my barrio bad boy from East Los Angeles, they were tough. They didn't talk about. First thing you see, it was hit by the board, a chain, or a brick. And I'm not suggesting that for any of you in this room. I'm just telling you, I'm a product of my social and economic milieu. And you're a product of your snowflake social economic milieu. But it doesn't have to end this way. It doesn't have to end this way. When I was a kid, normally in trouble, normally alcohol related, in fact almost always alcohol related, I did crazy things. Now there was a rugby program here before the coaches.
Vaguely.
Huh?
Vaguely.
Okay, yeah. I looked it up. We don't need to talk about it. Okay. Now, you know George Clooney's from Kentucky. Everybody knows that, right? You know that Johnny Depp is from Kentucky, right? And a few others. Jennifer Lawrence, I think, is from Kentucky. Well, that and a nickel doesn't buy you shit. Doesn't matter who, Daniel Boone. Jim Bowie, right? I heard all these stories in the 80s when I had all those employees at Great Western Cove, back in the hollers. Back in the hollers in those days, and again, I read in the newspaper, you could have a man killed for $50. $50. That's what it cost to have a man done in. $50 back in the middle 80s in Harlan, Kentucky was big money. I hope it's changed quite a bit. Anybody here from Harlan? Oh yeah, they're out of state.
All out of state.
God damn, okay. Happy Chandler. He looks like a crook to me. I don't know if he was or not. Just go through a couple of these quickly. Thomas Hunt Morgan. Of course, Mitch. They're going to either put him to sleep or retire him sooner than later. Joe Kraft, another, I remember him from the coal business. Ashley Judd, Paul Patton, Ernie Fletcher, these guys you probably never heard of. Now, I actually knew George Blandon. Played in both football leagues, had at one time the longest place kick for extra points in the league about 40, 50 years ago. And he was a nice guy. And he played until he was in his 50s. Ted Strickland, didn't know him, but I did know an astronaut. C.D. Glacier, Rodon and Rondo, basketball. I know Pat Riley. I don't know him. I don't know Antone, Rogers, Fresh. I did know John Brown, who from Kentucky Fried Chicken fame, that he bought it out. But guys, all this and a nickel buy you nothing. You have to make your own history. The only reason I put him up there, some of you didn't even know who I was talking about. It's just as well. You're going to make your own history. You're going to make the coaching staff not just proud, but recognizable. More recognizable than they are today. This is arguably a two-sport school, and we both know which two sports goes up. Now, back in the day, the basketball program has won 8 championships, if my memory serves me correctly, under 5 coaches, something like that. Well, I used to be friends with the Wizard of Westwood, who won 10 championships at UCLA, when I went there briefly before I got flunked out. In 1964, before you were born, maybe before your parents were born, I went to San Jose State University. Why? Because Playboy magazine voted it the most likely school to get laid at in the United States of these Americas. So I went there. Playboy School of the Year, and I flunked out of there. We used to have sunset sunrise parties where the girls would turn over police cars, rape policemen, set the sororities on fire. And then when they got banned from the campus, they went out to the railroad yards and they had parties they'd throw the bums out of the railroad cars and bring cakes in and have parties there. It was a party in school. And I couldn't even stay in that school. Remember, it's not what happens to you in life, it's how you interpret it. Of all the bad things that you might think are bad, I see somebody frowns in the coach's face already, the things I've done, I'm still here. And I've still created $665 billion with me hits just like you. Including world records, Olympians, and the skinny bow kid. And I've cut weight off women like chainsaw off a big ass. I'm really better at dieting. They say my stuff works better for dieting. We know about Bowie, we know about Boom. The reason why I'm flipping through these so fast is it doesn't mean a goddamn thing. Now, I thought Abe Lincoln was born in, is Hoganville? Is that that's here? Yeah, so he was born here, but he went off to Indiana. Okay. So the Emancipation Proclamation, you can take kind of part of credit for president. Again, guys, this doesn't mean anything. What I want is 5 years from now. By the way, I've never been asked to come back to the school to talk twice. Let's just say maybe 5 years from now I get asked again. Maybe new coaching staff never heard of me and they come and ask me. I want to be able to say some of the guys in this room are pictures that I got of Wikipedia, wherever the hell my staff got them from. And it's possible. You'll never exceed your highest expectation. Like the team that was going to go to the state finals, they finished second, then they finished first. The kid that wanted to go to the Olympics, they never got a medal. I have dozens and dozens and dozens of those stories. My best story, I wish I had something to do with it, was the 1980 Olympics, Winter Olympics, where the miracle on ice happened, where the USA beat Russia, I think it was Russia, in the finals. They were ranked 25th or out of 25 or 18 out of 18 places, and they won. They still talk about that. Because their coach at the time said, we're going to the Olympics to win. And I'm sure some of the players said, Jesus Christ, we haven't only won one game last season. But see, your subconscious doesn't know you're full of shit. Your subconscious doesn't know that you're dreaming. You can't have a dream come true unless you have a dream. Those other teams that you're going to play in the next few days have already got their own expectations based on their history. You may or may not be in their agenda. I hope you're not in their agenda. So when you surprise them. Remember, I am a non-athletic guy that found out he has some athletic talent late in life. Late in life. You kids have found out you have athletic talent now. But you haven't even scratched the surface. The only people that I knew on this list were Clooney and Depp, and I guess Lawrence. I never heard of anybody else. Again, it doesn't make any difference. Now, when's your next game match? Against who? What kind of team do they have? Don't be too cocky. I mean, anybody can win on any given day. Yes, sir.
Historically, very, very good in the past, but now we can set ourselves.
And why, can you define a little bit more about why you think why you know you're superior?
Well, so them and South Carolina and Tennessee used to run the conference. And they did that up until our freshman year when we beat South Carolina freshman year, so that's kind of what we based it on. And last year we won the SEC, so this year we're trying to do the same thing.
Okay, words are important. Not we're trying to do. We are. Remember, kids, your subconscious doesn't know you're full of shit. Always speak in the positive. Now, how do I know all this? I've been doing this 50 years now. 50 years. And athletically, I only found out I had some talent, slow twitch muscle talent, in my mid to late 30s. But I applied the same robust work ethics that I had financially, with my financial talent, to the athletic side of my life for those few years. I had the third guy to break the 4-minute mile, Laszlo Trevor, was my coach. He used to say, Mickey Gorman, who won the 77 Boston Marathon, was my teammate. And she used to drag me around. I was her partner on her slow running days. She was a world record holder, marathon. I was her partner in the slow days. And when we would show up for training out in the San Fernando Valley, Laszlo would say, "Oh my God, it's Peña again. He is slowing up our whole team's time schedule." Because the fast guys that were running around the quarter-mile track were lapping me. But I was there because Mickey was doing slow. So when I ran the Boston Marathon, I lined up with Frank Shorter, Olympian. This is my day, I thought. I was wrong, but I thought it, because I knew my subconscious doesn't know I'm full of shit. But my talent knew I was full of shit. Went out, collapsed at the 17-mile mark. They took me off the field, put me in an ambulance. I woke up 17 minutes later. I go, no. I jump out of the ambulance, go back and finish the race. But at some level, your subconscious doesn't know when you're full of shit. And when I lined up with Frank Shorter, the reigning Olympic champ, these muscles and these tired legs realized quickly, at about 5.5 miles, that I was going to be through sooner than later. But the other team, who else are you playing after that? Go ahead, somebody.
The winner of Tennessee and Alabama.
Okay, and who's supposed to win that?
Tennessee. Alabama. It's awesome.
It's a tough game. It's going to be a good game. I'm not sure who's going to win.
Who would you rather play?
I'd like to play Alabama. We have not played them yet. I'd like to get a chance at them.
Who's ranked first in the conference?
We are.
Woo! That's a big advantage. You can thank your talent and your coaching staff. Now, normally I would say more your coaching staff and less on your talent. But I don't want to hurt your little feelings because I know you're millennials and you're all sensitive. That's what I really think. That's what I really think. Guys, it will say next year, another year added on to that record. And when you go out there, I realize that rugby is a rough sport played by gentlemen, and soccer is a gentleman's sport played by ruffians. But I want you to be selfish as a team, to do all you can do as long as it's, I guess, legal, moral, and ethical. And your moral and your ethics are your own decision. But you never, remember, you only have one time to make a first impression. When I used to be with the Lakers many years ago, Kurt Rambis, who was the coach, there's a reason why that the basketball teams and football teams want to go out and score first. I assume it's no different in rugby. You want to score first. And you have an opportunity to make yourself proud, your family proud, your school proud, and your coaches proud. But more importantly, make yourself proud. so you don't have those regrets looking backwards. I don't see anybody, well, looks like this. But you know the picture, right? They didn't know that they all died. That's not the reason for the metaphor, that they all died, okay? And that the hunchback ratted them out. That's not part of the metaphor either. Part of the metaphor is that they went in to win against the odds. Now, yours are almost the opposite because the odds are with you. You have the cachet of being the defending champs. So you should play like it. You will play like it. And it will become a self-fulfilling prophecy. You're currently surrounded with kids, guys, young men that are on the same mission. This won't always be the case. When you get out there in life, non-athletic life, it's very difficult to find a group like this. Show me your friends and I'll show you your future. Self-esteem is built the first 7 or 8 years of life. Who are you around the first 7 or 8 years of life? Mom, maybe dad, an older brother, a grandparent, right? So if you're lacking self-esteem, it's because of your family. It doesn't have to stay that way. It doesn't have to stay that way. My lovely wife was wondering why there were cat paws all over the cement. And I said, before Coach could answer, I said, because when they're stumbling home drunk, they just follow the path. And then I found out it's a dry school. Do you realize there's universities in this country that have bars for the students? I've spoken to a few of them. I go by and I see the guys drinking martinis at the bars. Is that on campus? Yeah, that's on campus, but we have bars. That's part of the student union. Now, tonight, my wife and I are being honored by taking some of you to dinner. Correct, Coach?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And we're looking forward to it. Sally and I had dinner last night. We almost didn't eat dinner last night. There was a little altercation. I don't mean physical altercation. And I still like physical altercations at 73. That's a character flaw on my part. Because I still think I'm a tough guy. I know I'm not. But I like to think it. I used to like to think it. I'll tell a little story. 11 years ago, I'm in Panama. And we ran a bank. And bank is a euphemism for laundering money. We did laundry money. And they wanted us to launder money. We ultimately closed the bank down. But they're down there and they had some enforcers kind of. I was 62. About the same time I am now. And you all have bodyguards. Everybody got bodyguards. Lieutenants and stuff like that. And one of their guys said something that I didn't like. And to make a long story short, at 62, here I am trying to wrestle around in the parking lot with guys 25 years old. Fortunately, I didn't get hurt. And I hurt at least 2 of them. So, just like the guy that ran over me, Harry Wells, okay, so that's the last time that I did anything like that. But I'm still up for the fight, and I know you guys are still up for the fight, and I won't accept anything but victory from you. I won't accept anything but victory. And if the coach wants me to, when you're victorious, I'll come back and talk to you again. Because, you're the future, even though I don't think much of the future of the country, because I don't. Snowflakes melt under pressure. But you have the right mindset from your coaching staff and school support and now me. And that's a great combination. And I'll be glad to open it up for questions and answers. Maybe answers, depends on the questions. Questions from
Dan, one of the...
Hey, Slim. Let Don't you have anything to say? Do you want to know anything about my dieting? How much you weigh?
275.
At my peak, I weighed 287, and I couldn't get over 290. 4,000 or 5,000, 6,000 calories a day. I bet you don't have that problem. Now, guys, when a guy's as big as he is, and they say they don't eat that, now somebody's full of shit. You don't get that big. You have a slow metabolism. So did I. It's called hypothyroid. Okay, there's a question over here.
Yeah, Dan, the question I have is, so I know you obviously do a lot of high-performance coaching with young guys that are trying to, be very successful in business. I just want you to talk about some of the traits or some of the habits that they possess that takes them from being, marginally successful, ups and downs, to just high performance, just getting it done.
Okay. If you graduate from school, you're out, you're trying to make a living now, right? My kids all work standing desks. Standing desks. Okay? Half of the kids walk on a treadmill behind the standing desk. The magic velocity is 4 kilometers an hour. So they're burning up between 1,500 and 2,500 calories a day while they're working. That's not counting the gym and all that other stuff. That's number one. Number two, they all work out 4 to 6 times a week. Cardio and weights. Number three, they eat right. Not 6% body fat, not six-pack. I mean, they eat right. And you guys all know by the time you're your age what eating right is. Next, you are who you hang around with. If I were to judge you, if I have your 4 or 5 best buddy mates, what would I say? Probably not too much. Assuming that you can go to sports bars and drink, if you're going to sports bars and drinking and farting as a joke, 20 years from now, you'll be going to sports bars drinking and farting. Would you want your child, if you had a child, to be like one of the 3 or 4 guys that you hang around with? The answer's probably no. Actions have consequences. There is no work-life balance. There's work-life choices, and they have consequences. I still work 60 or 70 hours a week, and I haven't had to work for 35 years. People ask me, Mr. Peña, how do you get up every morning if you don't have to work for 35 years? I'm a barrio bad boy who lives in a 15th century historical castle, like Disneyland. The successful kids that I coach that fly around in jet planes now, money's not everything. The only thing that anybody keeps track of, making $1 million, $2 million a year, work like dogs, 120 to 140 hours a week. I'm going to say it again, 120 to 140 hours a week. The high-performance kids want to continue to learn. They find a mentor, somebody that is where they want to be today, and they mimic, model, copy them. By the way, all this stuff's free on my website. I'm not selling anything. It's all free on my website. When I was your age, I was a young Army officer. The only thing that I did of any repute, when the United States Congress makes you an officer, they say you're an officer and a gentleman. The only thing I was ever good at is flunking out, getting in fights, getting arrested before. So I'm a young officer and gentleman, that changed my life. When I got out of the military, I went and found people that were super successful, which meant super wealthy. And I mimicked them. Aristotle, Plato, and Socrates started mentoring 2,000 years ago. Normally, this is a shitty thing to say, you cannot say families without saying lives. For those of you that got their head screwed on straight, your parents did an all right job. For those of you that didn't, your parents fucked up. And if I've had parents and grandparents sitting here with the kids, 2 kids, and I ask the mother sobbing, the answer is, I did the best I knew how. You don't know what you don't know. If I went and asked your parents tonight, that's the same answer they give me. But you can't blame it on your parents because you're adults. To me, you're not adults because you're the adult. The coach is barely an adult to me at 38, but I mean, because he's still a kid. You've got to take responsibility. The kids take responsibility for their own actions. Okay, I know you're not supposed to drink, but for those of you that have drunk before, and you get a hangover, or you drink too much, you either suck it up and go to class and go to work with it, right? Or maybe you don't. Maybe the snowflakes now, they just roll over and go to sleep for 2 or 3 days. The high-performance kids that I've had the privilege of training for 25 years and being around for 50 years all take responsibility for their actions. They don't blame it on somebody else. Even though I gave you a reason to blame it on your parents, because that's who raised you. When I was talking to the Navy SEALs a few days ago, we had a guy named Leslie Wong. And I'm sitting there talking to him, and I'm trying to see if he has Asian eyes. And I said, excuse me, young man, but you don't look Chinese to me. And he laughed. He said, no, I'm not. I was a product. My mother didn't know she was pregnant, so she went into labor. Everybody understand what I just said? How can you not know you're fucking pregnant until you go into labor? First class mom, huh? She dropped me off, and I was adopted by this Chinese couple. And I decided to take their name because they raised me. We've all got a story like that. For those of you that grew up with single parents, one parent at home, normally the mom. And normally the mom is loving and nourishing. But if love got the job done, we wouldn't be in the mess that we are in as a country. Love does not get the job done. Religion does not get the job done. For this world not to go, this is one man's opinion, for this world not to go down the toilet, a lot of things have got to change. Full disclosure, I know President Trump. Full disclosure, I haven't talked to him in 25 years. But he's done 17 of the 20 things that I predicted when he got elected. There's only 3 things he hasn't done. Bomb North Korea, bomb Iran, and bomb Syria. Those are the only 3. And I know the next 20 things he's going to do when he gets reelected. He's following his game plan from The Art of the Deal when he wrote that book 30 plus years ago. Take responsibility. Chill. Sally and I were in Verona, Italy, getting on a train to do the Orient Express, which is a lovely experience. And we're waiting 45 minutes for a glass of wine. We climb up this mountain to this Roman ruins, and Sally says to me, she says, Dan, I think that we're chilling. What do you mean, honey? We're waiting 45 minutes for a glass of wine. I think this is chilling. Bill Gates doesn't chill. Steve Jobs didn't chill. Bezos doesn't chill. Warren Buffett doesn't chill. Why do you chill? I've just named 4 of the 5 most successful men that have ever walked the face of the motherfucking earth. Usain Bolt tried to chill before his last event. And what did it get him? It got him 3rd. He went out a loser. You want to chill? 10 years of arguably the greatest sprinter that ever walked the face of the earth. What do you do? Anyway, well, you know what I'm talking about. And he went out a loser. No time to chill. If you're going to be all you can be, it's a full-time job. Forever. And remember, athletics is a metaphor for the rest of your life. This is a microcosm for the rest of your life. You go out and win, you're going to cherish it all your life. The only thing I can cherish is Harry Wells. I hung on to his fire hydrant legs, and he didn't cross the goddamn goal line. That's it. But I got something. Now, what if he had scored? I wouldn't be telling the story. I would forget my meager football career. High-performance people, it's a full-time job. It's a full-time job. Taking responsibility. And in some cases, kids, you're surrounded. In most cases, you're surrounded. This is a cloistered environment. The coaches hold you accountable, not as accountable as I hold you, but they hold you accountable, more accountable than when you were living at home. More accountable than living at home. Whereas I had just the opposite. My dad's holding my hand, walking me to the car after the foot. Can you imagine how embarrassing that was? Just imagine. Did I have tears in my eyes? You goddamn right I did. Did I look away so my dad didn't see him? You goddamn right I did. And when we walked by the people I knew, I pretend I didn't know him as my dad's dragging me along. Just think about that. But it made me the man I am. And that's why they picked me to go talk to the fucking SEALs. Not Jocko, not Tony Robbins, not Ty Lopez. They picked me because I'm the baddest motherfucker walking at 73. He picked me. Now I normally say I could take it 10 at a time. The little guys, maybe I could. But some of the big guys, I'd have to. I'll take discretion to the better part of valor, I'll back off. But when I tell the audiences in universities that, regular little snowflakes, and I jump out in the audience and I start choking people, they all run. I'm 73 years old. How tough can I be? You don't want to find out. Nothing like choking a snowflake and getting your fingers like red marks on your nails. Now, we were having dinner in Poland, and they had a beautiful waitress. What I'm about to say, I'm not recommending in any way, shape, manner, or form, especially for the young lady in the back of the room. So, my wife's here, Mentee's across from me, and we're ordering. And this really good-looking, hot waitress leans into me like this, with her breast about here, and I naturally just put my hand around her ass, and I've got my hand on her left cheek. And where she's translating the menu to me, and says, she leaves. Sally says, do you know what you just did? I read the menu. My mentee across, sir. And this guy, he's a big, he should play rugby actually. He's a big, tall, blonde guy. And I said, I realized, okay, I'll apologize when I see her again. Next night, same restaurant, same table. This time she leans into me harder. I put my hand, wasn't even thinking, I did the same thing again. And then this time Sally kicks me. The reason why I had to have two new knees, because my wife's always kicking me under the table. I'm a Neanderthal. I shouldn't do it. I just, I still call ladies cutie. I mean, it's not going to change. I'm 73. But I'm not recommending any of that for you. I come from a different era. I'm a Neanderthal. You've got your whole life ahead of you. But if you don't start keeping yourself accountable, and your significant other accountable, because I always ask the kids that have girlfriends or wives or whatever, is she supportive? Or sometimes is he supportive? I don't give a shit what your persuasion is. And 95% of the time they say yes. And I say no. The first birthday you miss, the first Christmas you miss, the first time you forget your anniversary, all of a sudden that support goes down the toilet. Because when you tell them we're going to make a lot of sacrifices being an All-American, or we're going to make a lot of sacrifices getting rich, their sacrifices are the benchmarks they saw. And remember, kids do not what you tell them to do, kids do what they see you do. Just as you're a product of you doing what you saw your parents didn't do. For those of you that just had mom for a parent, you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about.
Dan, talk about some of the sacrifices some of your high-performance guys make. I mean, just as an example, just hit a couple.
Well, other than the long hours, Josh Kim, my teenage phenom, lived at home in Washington, D.C., calls his mother from a national airport. He's 18 now, and he said, Mom, leaves a voicemail. Mom, I'm moving to San Francisco. I didn't want to make a scene and see you cry. Love you. I'll get back in touch as soon as I can. He just turned 18. He moved to San Francisco without a job, no money. The only asset he had was his bicycle, his 10-speed bicycle. That's it. Now he's flying around in a jet plane. He's 21. We have people that, if you're black, speak French, and you're a senior, and you graduate, you take a one-way ticket to Haiti. One way, and never come back. Because Haitians have nothing. And you can help them rebuild the country and get rich at the same time. If you speak Spanish, I used to say go to Cuba, but Trump's going to drop the hammer on Cuba, so I don't say that anymore. Okay? There are places in the world. We sent our youngest son to China 10, 12 years ago to learn to speak Mandarin. Because 10, 15 years ago, the place to be was China. Not Lexington, Kentucky. Now, if you want to breed horses and raise tobacco, and it's a great place to live. I almost bought a huge horse farm here when I owned really to please the governor, but anyway, so I could head up a campaign. But anyway, that's a whole other story. And I look at, they have some beautiful properties with God Almighty. Like in Gone with the Wind. Holy Toledo. Unbelievable. My wife asked, what would the bluegrass mean? She asked, the grass gets, you know what I'm talking about. It's the thing to do. But unless you're willing to do those things, most of your relationships you have, kids, are for the wrong reasons. Most of your parents got married for the wrong reasons, you know it. I can prove to you, statistically, that half of you are an accident. At least half. Probably more. And don't go home and ask your mother. Because she'll cry. But she's giving you your answer. And I don't mean 7 years apart, like one sister. No, I don't mean that. And when you ask your dad, what do you mean? That's the answer there, too. Very seldom will you get a straight answer. No. You were on purpose, honey. It's been proven that you can hear what's happening since the second trimester in your mommy's tummy. That's from the 4th month on. Okay, there are college students who are living together, and your biological father comes home, and your biological mother says, oh, honey, we're pregnant. I don't even get into this we're pregnant shit, because I don't believe that. We're pregnant. You're pregnant. But that's a whole other story. We're pregnant. We're pregnant. And then he goes, pregnant! I'm 2 car payments behind. We're about to repossess the house. What do you mean we're pregnant? You heard that in your mom's tummy. And then you wonder why your dad treated you the way he did. Why doesn't anybody talk about this shit? The truth hurts, excuse me. Josh Kim, by the luck of Allah, his mother is a child psychologist who read the book by Jonas Spock, which is my Bible for raising kids. And his father is a West Point senior officer who was a strict disciplinarian, and she was loving and nurturing. And if you go to my site and you look at his talks that he gives free, he says, I didn't realize how good I had it until I saw how fucked up everybody else in the world was. He was homeschooled, never went to school. Other than homeschool. His claim to fame in life, he was an Eagle Scout. I'm telling you how it is, kids. I'm not telling you how you'd like it to be. And if your parents were in the room, don't go home and ask them after the season's over. If you want to. But it doesn't matter what they answer you. It's not going to help you. My mother had 3 miscarriages, almost died 3 times trying to have more kids after me. The only thing I know for absolute positive is I was on purpose. That and a nickel won't buy you nothing. Anything, nothing, nothing. By the way, when I was going to boot camp in Orange, California, 1966, I volunteered for the draft during the height of the Vietnam War. I had an old E7 from Kentucky. And he was, at that time, a racist guy, funny as shit, nice guy. And he's one of the ones that was the nicest to me about being a Mexican wetback. He was illiterate. You could be in E7 in the Army and not be able to speak English back in 1966. And he was from Kentucky. The only person that was nice to me happened to be from Kentucky. And he couldn't read or write. Now what's that say about life? Other than you guys aren't from Kentucky, you're in a school in Kentucky, you're all out of state. There's a lot of sacrifice. For some of you, you're going to go on and play some other form of rugby. Are they? Yeah. And the professional ranks or semi-professional ranks are hard. God forbid they find me and they call me in the ass. My coaching style is I have 1 foot up your ass and 1 foot down your throat. But I know how to pump resolve up your butt. And operating like these guys do, the coaches, I mean, they don't have budgets like the basketball and football. I mean, they're under the gun. You know, to my mind, these are real coaches. Last night at dinner, the basketball coach, head coach, was sitting, see, we were sitting like this. The football coach was sitting about where you are on the table, and the basketball coach was sitting behind us. You would have thought that Jesus Christ himself was the basketball coach. There are more people blowing smoke up his ass. They filled up his water so many times, I mean, they were spilling ice cubes all over him. Football coach seemed more normal. But we're going to eat there for those of you that are joining us tonight. Let's see how many times they fill up your water glass. Food's good. Eat up, though. Are you coming with us? We only bought so many meals, big guy. Yeah. When I weighed 287 pounds, and I was a bench press with my son. Our youngest son is a big, strong guy. And we're doing sets with 240 or 250 on the bench. And he kept on saying, Dad, don't strain yourself, don't strain yourself. And just like magic, my right long-head bicep snapped, and he could see it roll down my bicep. He didn't know whether it was shit or go blind. Are you all right, Dad? No, not all right. So it's fine. But I don't live to waste my kids anymore. I'm a shadow of my former self. But and old people always try to be young too long. I stand as evidence of this. And that's why I've got so many memory parties. Any other questions, Coach?
Gentlemen, any questions? Sir, any other questions?
Yes, sir.
So I work at the restaurant, and we went out yesterday and go today, and I just had to ask you, like, my boss, what did you think?
Which one's your boss? The guy with the suit?
Yeah, the short guy, kind of looks like an
Fat.
Yeah.
Feel like a bowling pin.
Yeah.
Well, now I'll tell you the whole story since you asked. Sally and I had reservation for 8 o'clock, right? Okay. We get there at 7. Quarter past 7. And the 2 little girls are standing there, and then I said, now, the restaurants are third empty. So they tell us, well, maybe we can let you be seated a little before 8. So then my wife says, you mean 45 more minutes? And I see the restaurant's empty. Well, no, we can't. I said, piss on it, we don't want to run, we're just going to go to the bar and have a drink. And then I said, we have restaurants, I mean, this is bullshit. And I walked away. So we go to order a drink, and so then the manager, about 6-7 minutes later, I thought he was going to come out and ask me to leave because I said, bullshit, this isn't fucking right, as I walked away. I thought he was going to ask me to leave because he can't talk that way. Okay? Then I was going to have to decide whether I was going to choke the little fat guy. Okay. But then he said to me, we can seat you right now. So we went from waiting 45 minutes. By the way, the greasy wheel gets, the squeaky wheel gets the grease in line. Remember that. The squeaky wheel gets the grease. Anyway, so then they seated us, and then a nice waiter from Chicago, very professional guy, which we gave a 25% tip, and he came by and thanked us twice. Don't Kentuckians tip? Huh? No wonder he was so surprised.
Yeah.
Sally and I, we worked at jobs when we were your age, waiting on tables, we got tips. I used to park cars. I used to park cars at a place in Beverly Hills where the LA Ram guys and the Lakers used to, just when I was a kid, and they'd come give you 25-cent tip. It was $5 to park the car, and they give you 25 cents. I used to throw the 25 cents back at them. No wonder. But we'll just have to see what how much tip we give the guys tonight. Yeah. But that guy that waited on said they had 2 guys on the rugby team that worked there. But the manager needs some, not table manager, leadership 101.
Yeah.
But the 2 girls behind the desk are pretty piss poor. I mean, if you told somebody in Beverly Hills or New York City or someplace not out of the way like Lexington, all that would have ripped her. Good.
With their first priority for the hosts is then they have to be above 7 out of 10. That's like the first priority. I'm not.
You mean looking?
Yeah.
Well, those are 7s in Kentucky, but give me a break. I mean, but those girls could scare a bullet off a meat truck.
Hey, I never said they were free. I said that's just their discrepancy.
In fact, I was going to say, so far today, I ain't had so much fun since the hogs at my baby brother. I mean, that old boy worked so hard, he wore his clothes from the inside out. And when I got into Hazard and Harlan, and these guys talked like that, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it, I thought that was only hillbillies in the movies. Other questions? Yes, sir.
Earlier you had mentioned a little bit on varying your interest in your trade. I was wondering if you could speak a little more to that.
Training?
Just your trade, your interest, what you're doing, varying that.
Well, I'm involved in about 30 companies. The hottest industry on the planet right now is healthcare. It has been for 30 years. A mentee of mine is currently governor of Florida, Rick Scott. He's running for Senate. Because old people like me don't want to die, so they keep on trying to prolong. The hottest part of healthcare is assisted living. I call bedpans, when you kick your old lady, your parents out, you don't want to take care of them, you have to pay $1,500, $2,000 a month, literally with a bedpan under their butts, and somebody washing them down. Big margins. Cybersecurity is the hottest industry on the planet. Cybersecurity. Every time President Trump rivals his sword, cybersecurity stocks go up. Telco/internet is still hot. What's not hot is gyms, pills, potions, 6-packs, 4% body fat. That's not hot. Every meathead with a 40 IQ can get a 6-pack. It's all in the kitchen. For those of you that have a 6-pack or know anything about what I'm talking about, it starts and ends in the kitchen. You don't have to read any books. So but you want businesses, industries that have low barrier to entry, meaning it's hard to get into. If you can't be first, guys, you want to be different. It's very difficult. Any gal with a debit card in Bangalore, India, can compete with you selling on Amazon. You want something? We have kids rolling up physiotherapy clinics. We have kids rolling up dental clinics. We have kids, by roll up I mean buying. We have kids rolling up construction companies. We have kids rolling up, literally, I know they don't have yellow pages anymore, but in the old days you have a yellow page book. You throw it on the ground, wherever it opens up. In the Trump era, you can buy anything. In 2015, I predicted, it's on YouTube, if Mr. Trump is serious about being president and he wins, you will see the greatest transformation of wealth that the world has ever seen. And what has happened? You have seen the greatest transformation of wealth the world has ever seen. What are you going to tell your grandchildren and children? Granddad, what were you doing during the greatest transformation of wealth? Other than having your thumb up your ass. I was thinking about it. I was spreadsheeting it. All this is free on my site, kids. I'm not trying to sell anything. It's all free on my site. But there's a reason why the Navy SEALs asked me in 3 weeks as a coach. I'm going to talk to Annapolis, the midshipmen. Now, I'm military orientated, so maybe that's, but they're not asking anybody else. Because as crazy as the old man is, I'm right. And I predicted. Interest rates have to go up at least 300 to 500 basis points. That means interest rates have to go up 3 to 5% before we're in trouble. And they're all crying about because interest rates ratcheted up 50 to 75 basis points. Those are the pundits. But most of the pundits are poor. I'm super rich. So who are you going to listen to? In Oxford, there was a kid in the front row that said, I read 700 books on personal development. I said, I didn't know there were 700 books on personal development. And the kid on the other side said, who would you rather have coaching you? A guy that's read 700 books or a guy that's done 700 transactions? Pretty simple. It's a no-brainer. Even for a Kentucky rugby player. It's a no-brainer. Now, are rugby players accused of having high IQs, low IQs, or no IQs?
Man, they're all over the board.
It's all over?
All over the board.
Footballers are by definition, dumb. Soccer, as you say. I can attest to that. I haven't coached it. I won't give you their names. But and some of them, the richest ones, have the lowest IQ. You can probably guess who those guys are.
Yeah, talk about some of the leadership traits you see from guys like Rick Scott and the guy that he was the CEO of Philip Morris. Like, what are some of the traits they possess when they come in to meet you the first time that you pick off? You're like, this guy is going to make it versus this guy's a pile of shit.
First of all, age has nothing to do with it. I'd rather deal with young kids because they have no baggage. By baggage, I mean all of the bad things that have accumulated on your shoulders over life. Like your parents have. Like the older guys in the room. Like the guy in the blue shirt, the guy with the tie, the camera guy. They've had suffering. Now, self-esteem is built the first 7, I'm getting your question. Self-esteem is built the first 7 or 8 years of life. And again, we know who you're around, right? Then life catches up with you and then beats you down. Now, the young kids, the reason why we have so many young kids that are doing well, we have a 15-year-old kid. Well, we've got a bunch of 15. We have a 13-year-old kid that makes $100 grand a year. 13 fucking years old. What were you doing other than masturbating at 13? 13! And the reason why more kids follow me now, I'm getting back to good, is because they know they can just go on the internet and Google and information is instantaneous now. In my age, no internet. When I was young, no cell phones. But what I look for is dedication, and I'm a real good people picker. I can look in your eyes and know how sincere you are. I know the kids in this room that are forced to be here, and I know the kids that really wanted to be here, because I've been doing this a long time. And it doesn't matter, it's the fact that I turned teenagers into multimillionaires. Some of you, not just you, but audiences in general, have turned off, well, that's a kid. That's not me. You've already presupposed he's got a 300 IQ and he hasn't. He's an Asian kid on top of it. He's a half-breed. Half Korean, half white. He's got a whole bunch of things running against him. He has no friends, has no mates, doesn't chill, doesn't hang. I don't think he's ever seen the Super Bowl on TV. Doesn't sound like you, right? Only thing he had, well, I shouldn't be the only thing. The only thing he had was he was an Eagle Boy Scout. And so what I look for is I look for the energy. I look for kids that don't take no for an answer. I get hundreds of requests, and I only respond to a few. Okay, you're 35 years old, blah, 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 and you fill out all this paperwork, and I find out when your birthday is, when your wife's birthday. First meeting we're going to have is on your wife's birthday. I don't tell you this. My secretary, Kat, gets back, like you, and you look at it, all excited, he's going to see me. Then it dawns on your little rugby brain that that's your wife's birthday. Are you going to come and see me? I don't really give a shit, because I have thousands of people who want to see me. Or Yom Kippur or Rosh Hashanah if you're Jewish. I make our first meeting on whatever one's around. Our meeting's Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. So you either want to meet a guy that's a rainmaker that has created $655 fucking billion, or you don't. It's that simple. I got them lined up from here to Louisville, 100 across. How bad do you want it? Some guy, I don't do this because I cherish my sleep more, the first appointment you're going to have is 2 in the morning, 2 a.m. or 4 a.m. That eliminates 95% of the people. Yet, when the ones that are really sincere, they do it. I was privileged to be around some of the great minds and wealth creators in the last 50 years. Not because I did it when I wanted to do it. I did it when they wanted to do it. I've met 5 presidents. I've met 5 secretaries of state. I've met 3 prime ministers. I've met 1 secretary general of the United Nations. And of course, a number of governors, not the least of which one from this great state. Not because they wanted to see me, because I made it my business to see them. Why would the Secretary General of the fucking United Nations want to see Dan Peña? I'm sure to this day he's probably asking himself, what the fuck did I meet with him for? But now I've already got the door open. The squeaky wheel gets the grease. You do it professionally, but you got to be pushy. You got to be more selfish. Most snowflakes melt under pressure, and they're too nice. You have friends of yours that talk shit, right? You know they're talking shit, but you don't say you're full of shit. Tacit approval is an evil. Tacit approval is you talk shit to me. I'm your buddy, and I know he's full of shit, but I don't call him. Hey, you know that's bullshit. I just listen. Or God forbid I nod my head. Then he goes to the next meathead and says, Dan, he likes the idea. Then you go to the next 3 meatheads, and all I did was sit and listen. Tacit approval is an evil. And that's normally how you've been raised. Your parents would rather give you tacit approval than argue with you. Because if you don't think raising kids is a bitch, you don't know. There's several things in life I wouldn't do again. One of which is have kids. And we love our 3 children. All millennials. But our millennials are like Genghis Khan, Attila the Hun, and Adolf fucking Hitler compared to you kids. And they're millennials. If my daughter or daughter were here, Kelly is a female with a skirt that sounds like me, 32 years old. She'd say, my daddy treats everybody the same. Like shit. And I do. Because I don't care what you think about me. I don't care what you say about me. All I care is to get the fucking ball over the goddamn goal line. Not once, not twice, but as many times. I want you to run up the scores. Do they still run up the scores?
Oh, yeah.
I want you to run it up. I want you to be a legend in your own mind. 107-0. Beat them. And when you got them down, beat them until their brains come out of their fucking skull. And then keep beating them. So then the next team you play will be afraid of you. Just like many years ago, Konstantin Karatzos, the CEO of Monastic Shipping Lines, said, smart people are afraid of you, Mr. Penny. Only stupid people challenge you. Because when I say I'm going to do whatever it takes, I mean it. If it means I got to tune you fucking up with a baseball bat, or take your company away from you and put you in starvation. When I say I'm going to fuck you up, I mean I'm going to fuck you up. It's not metaphors. And the big guys that I've alluded to, the Jobs, God rest his soul, who I knew, the Gates, etc., Elon Musk, Bezos, are all the same. So if they're all like that, success leaves clues, kids. If they're all like that, and you're not. And most assuredly, your parents aren't. What does that say? There's a reason why the Navy SEALs call me. The Naval Academy calls me to pump resolve up the ass of the young guys. Yes, sir.
I have a question. I know you, sir, made a lot of money early in your life with.
Well, not as young as you. I mean, I have kids as young as you did, but I wasn't that young. Go ahead.
And the coal mining industry.
Amen for Kentucky coal.
Yes, sir. I was just wondering, this might be a personal question, but what would you say is the future of investment?
Now, you sound like New Zealand, Australia,
South Africa.
South Africa.
Yes, sir.
African blood in you?
Yes, sir.
Oh, fucking Nazi blood! Okay, so what's the question?
The question was just about if you had any recommendation on where do we invest money.
Oh, no. You buy companies and sell. It's easier to buy revenue than create it. Okay, for those of you that have parents that had a business, first $50,000 in revenue, okay, is geometric growth. From 0 to 50,000 geometric. The next 50,000 from 50 to 100 is geometric growth. But then what happens is you start playing not to lose instead of playing to win. It's easier, infinitely easier to buy revenue, buy companies, than taking the risk to start from scratch. So you would buy revenue. I have a young African kid named Manelli, black kid, 38, 39 years old, already super wealthy. He's building a conglomerate, and he was on television, South African TV, which I don't know what that means. And he says, in 4 months, I made 5 times more money than I made in 18 years following Dan. He's an ex-rugby player, come to think of it. Little shit, he's about this wide. His arms look like legs. But guys, the world is your oyster. It's there for the taking in a moral, ethical, legal way. Was there a question? Yes, ma'am.
So performance psychology. You talked a lot about your performance psychology philosophy coming from a dislike of the coach, and so you alluded to guys like Bobby Knight, and so to make it more relatable to these guys, Coach Cal, Coach K at Duke.
I don't know them.
Sorry, so Coach Cal is the basketball coach here.
Okay.
Not
The
really
guy
well,
saw last night that thought it was Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So
Okay.
philosophy here at UK is one and done athletes. We don't keep guys pretty much past their sophomore year. But in your ebook, you alluded to a philosophy of John Wooden. So.
Oh yeah, I happen to knew John.
Yeah. So.
And John is a softer, kinder, but he's one of the, I won't say the only, but he's one of the 2 or 3 guys that have used a softer, kinder approach that have been super successful.
Yeah. So he was more about raising young men as opposed
Correct.
to raising basketball
Yes,
players.
ma'am.
So again, I'm curious as to which you talked about. And so, quoting 1 foot in the ass, 1 foot in the mouth, as to which approach you.
No, I'm not a John Wooden. I'm not. There's only one John Wooden, and I'm not anywhere near, as accomplished.
So which style?
My style is the Bobby Knight, Woody Hayes. If you say the basketball guy here.
Yeah. So you.
I'm hard ass. I hold people accountable. I would throw if we were a basketball player and you were scoring 40 points a game, and you did something I didn't like, I'd throw you off the team. I don't give a shit. I don't care what the donors say. I don't care what anybody says. I'm a hard ass because I tell kids, if we were in combat, mistakes cost lives. Failure's not an option in my organizations. Never. I run them like a combat SEAL team. I.e., not a SEAL. They pick me because they know the mentality. And you must be the lady shrink, right?
No, I'm not a shrink.
Oh no, but I mean something like that.
Yeah.
And my generation would rather eat turds than go to a shrink. I would rather have diarrhea flopping in my mouth. My generation. I'm not saying your generation. My dad suffered from battle fatigue. From World War II, Korean War. He had nightmares till he died at 91. Never complained. Drank a lot. My dad smoked 4 to 6 packs a day from the time he was 18 to 88. He died in 91. He drank 1 to 1.5 bottles of vodka a day and 2 bottles of wine every day for 65 years. His brother never smoked or never drank, outlived him 3 years. And if my dad was standing right here, he'd say, piss on it, I'll give him 3 years. He didn't have any fun. I'm a hard ass. I'm a hard ass. No question about it. When I was going through Ranger training, they don't do this anymore. And I told the SEAL group, and they said they don't do it anymore. When you were captured in training, they would hang you up in trees by your wrists, spread your legs naked, and put battery wires to your testicles. There's hundreds of lawsuits still pending for guys that couldn't have kids from the 60s. They capture you, they put you on an anthill, strapped out naked, they pour honey all over you, and they'll leave you there for 2 or 3 days. Dave Reynolds, the best man at my wedding, who lives 60 miles from here, was the last guy that they did that to when I was there. That's how you trained in those days. Can you imagine now if that happened? Can you imagine if we put you in you probably needed a dunce cap. They put a dunce cap on you and they put you in a closet and your parents didn't pick you up and you shit your pants. It'd be on fucking CNN, wouldn't it? And every beating I got from the teachers and nuns, my dad, when he came back into town, he'd give me another beating. And I finally got 10% of the beatings I deserved. I deserved 90% more. And when you Google, you don't have to Google it, Google Manny Peña, that's my father, CIA assassin, killed between 13 and 23 men. I do like my daddy did, not what he said. He was bad. We have a snowflake test. Somebody spits in your mother's face. These are the answers, potential answers. There's only one answer. But the answer, the 95% of the kids that take the test come back. Well, I would wonder what frame of mind the man that spit in my mother's face was to see if he was having a bad day. Now, there's only one answer. I'd either die trying to kill him or he'd kill me. One or the other. My cousin Ronnie, God love him, when we were 15 years old, and I'm not suggesting this, but this is where I come from. 15 years old, stabbed the guy 17 times for telling him his girlfriend had a big ass. Thank God Ronnie wasn't very good with a knife, because the guy didn't die. And my dad was a big-time cop and put him away in a reform school for 4 or 5 years. And now, look, and I'm not saying the world should be violent like it was. But we better hope we don't go to war with Russia, because they'll eat our fucking lunch. And this is a former infantry-trained army officer. Because they don't take any prisoners. They have no snowflakes. And I'm not saying this is right. They kill the snowflakes. They exterminate them. Spartans took the kids away from the mothers at between 7 and 8. Remember self-esteem, 7 and 8? And they never gave them back to the mom. Why? You did what you had to do, Mom. Now we're going to do the rest. I went to a 2-day funeral a year or so ago. I didn't know they had 2-day funerals. And 2 of the guys at the funeral have known me since I'm 10, 11 years old. And they were really tough. I thought I was tough. They were really tough. But now they're all grandfather, you know, and we were talking like some of the stories I told you, and their grandkids, and Grandpa Walter, is Mr. Peña telling the truth? And Walter said, they just burst into tears from a fucking story. And then Howard would say, and Danny's dad carried a gun. Retired policeman, CIA, oh, he still carry a gun. They can't anymore. Used to be. You can still pack in Kentucky. Praise the Lord and pass the ammunition. When I was here, they had Winchesters in the back windows and had 2 or 3 boxes of shells. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
So you kind of talked about you didn't really look for baggage on people. It seems like a lot of your life, your baggage actually helped.
Oh, yeah.
Where you were.
I'm one in a billion. Okay. Most people, it deteriorates. If you had been kept in the closet, you shit your pants, you'd never forget about shitting your pants. I shit my pants so many times, I can't remember how many times. I got so many beatings, I can't remember. It made me stronger because when I go to my mother, no, that's all right, let's not tell Dad about this. She would say this, but your dad didn't think you were good, but what's the win? I never complained. So when I got off to the Army and went to Ranger training and all this tough stuff I went through, I thought it was like a country club existence. Although my dad never put battery wires to my balls, but he certainly gave me a goddamn beating. Nobody in the military ever gave me as good a beating as my dad did. And look at me now. I'm still not as much twisted steel, but still full of panther piss. And again, that's why the SEALs call me. And I'm going to a Delta group. It made me think of it when you mentioned it. Delta group out in California in January. A secret thing. They're going to be deployed. I don't know whether they're going to be in the moon or someplace. But you have baggage already. I can tell you, you had things that you carried with you. But I can't help you from before today. But moving forward, you're a clean slate. I think the card said tabula rasa. You're a clean slate. And I'm not everybody's cup of tea. They're never going to call me back to Oxford, University of Toronto, and a lot of the great schools I taught at. Because the establishment infringe upon their sensitivities. I don't give a shit. You have no idea what you can do if you act like you're fearless. You don't care what people think. And that doesn't mean go out of your way and do bad things. But some of you, I don't understand how people can be bullied on Facebook. It's beyond my comprehension. I know it happens. People die over that. I go to their house and I kick their teeth in and drag them in the street and run over them. Be one act of bullying. One. I may go to jail for it. But you probably know people that have been bullied. Sally, when she was going to school, she had a bullying. How did you settle your bullying with a girl who was bullying you? Knocked her in the mouth, knocked her down. That's normally the cure for bullying. Now, I know that bullying, in the soccer or football, there's guys that get away with all kinds of crap. And I assume that maybe in rugby it's the same. Some people are professional actors instead of professional rugby players. But guys, you have the rest of the world. You have no idea. You're going to think back on this talk 20, 30 years from now, and hopefully not many of you will say, I wish I had listened to that old stuff. And if my kids were standing here, my kids don't understand why you need an old man like me to be screaming at you. Because they live it. But they're millennials, but they, in no way, shape, manner, or form, do they even resemble a millennial. Although they're from 32 to 36 in age. A daughter being witnessed. But there's so many opportunities out there. And for those of you that, you play here at Kentucky, and Kentucky is a generous state. The alumni, you go into joint ventures, and go in mining, and go in car dealerships. There's all kinds of opportunities out there. I was involved with Texas A&M about 30 years ago. Unfortunately, they were giving the kids money and cars, and you're not supposed to do that. And the UCLA, I've been involved with alumni. And alumni, they're generous people for the most part. You got to put up with the bullshit from time to time, but they're good people in Kentucky. I'm very partial to Kentucky, otherwise I wouldn't be here. A good portion of my network I made in the hollers, as they say, And the Kentuckian guys and gals, because I talked to them just like I'm talking to you. And they understood exactly where I was coming from. And other questions? Yes, sir.
What is it that made you, or drove you to make that first big step in your business career, whether it be that first big transaction or that first big step? Because I know a lot of times things like that, I'm sure other people in the room can relate, including myself. You want to do something big, but you don't know. There's all this risk involved. There's other things you have to consider. So, what is it that made you say, "All right, with all that considered, I'm going to do this"?
When I was on Wall Street, I saw meatheads with 60, 80 IQ making millions of dollars in oil. And they weren't the sweat that rolled down from my jockstrap. So I pulled the trigger and left. A lucrative job. Like Nike says, just do it, right? I say just fucking do it. But you gotta pull the trigger. Any mistake that you make at your age now will pale in complexion. A couple of the old farts in the room are more afraid, they got mortgages, they got this, but there's always gonna be something. When they get done paying for their kids to go to school, then it's their grandkids that gotta go to school. There's always some fucking excuse. And to answer your question more specifically, I just pulled the trigger. I just pulled the trigger and I just did it. And I was, I saw my dad fearless, from a physical point of view, being the big hero he was. And I just did it. And I've been doing it, and I've been able to instill in kids like yourselves the intestinal fortitude, the guts, the balls. You call it whatever you want. What you call it. But the bottom line is, and you're going to fail. Now, when I fail now, I'm surprised because I've been successful so much. But in the beginning, I failed, just like some of you are going to fail. And I had the fear of failure. But when you find out, Fred Smith, the founder of Federal Express, who's a contemporary of mine, he's a year older than I. Same background, he was a Marine, he was team leader in Vietnam. He said, when I realized that my mistakes, the collateral damage I did in making mistakes, nobody was dying. Nobody was coming back in a body bag. The rest of my career was nothing you're going to do is going to kill anybody. Some of you go on to medical school. I said that recently to a medical doctor, and somebody died under his knife. And Joe said, Dan, I wish you wouldn't use that analogy anymore. But unless you go off to medical school and become a surgeon of some sort, nothing you're ever going to do in your life is going to kill anybody. I'm not talking about drunk driving running all the time. I mean in your business career. Nothing. But see, you have seen your family risk averse because some Uncle Joe lost all the family money. Some cousin 50 years ago. We've all got that. So do I. But I figure I'm smarter than they are. And so far I've been proven right. But I've had some big figures. I could write, and by the way, my book is an audio on my site, The First 100 Million. It's been updated last year. I know that what can be done now, as evidenced by the kids your age. There are kids in this room, 18, 19, 20, 21, right? Well, I have multi-millionaires flying fucking jet planes, same age. Not because they're smarter. I can make a rugby joke now, but I'm not. Not because they're smarter, but because they took action. Unless you guys do something special with your lives, you're probably going to wind up like your parents. Poor. If that's what you want, fine. I stopped going to family functions many years ago. I'd walk in the door, my dad, after a funeral, you all go to the back of the house and drink coffee and cake and that. My dad would say when I walk in the door, this is my son who lives in a castle. I said, Dad, they don't need to know that. If you say it one more time, Dad, I'm never going to come to another funeral. Of course, he said it. I never went to another funeral. Our parents, your parents will be proud of your success. But they're living vicariously through you because they did nothing with their lives. If they did, you wouldn't be here have to be here on scholarships or however you are here. Our daughter went to Boston University, Northwestern. Sally and I writing a check. She got a $4,000 scholarship for having a 3.96 average, which I didn't think of until we were talking to Coach earlier. I don't know why you give me $4,000 for having a 3.96, but she was embarrassed to pick up the money because she's rich. Dad, I shouldn't pick up that money. Then she'd go to some poor person. Maybe they ship it down to Kentucky. After the scholarship group. Our youngest son went to school on his own nickel. All the way scholarships or his own money. And our oldest son is disabled and go to school. But you can do it, kids. And don't go home and ask your parents about that question. Wait till the season's over. Any other questions? I think I wrung them out, Coach.
That's good. That's good. From here, Dan, we'd love to get a picture of you with all the guys. If that's possible. We'd love to make that happen.